What's going on, Guardians? Sly here, back at it once again with another Destiny 2 video. So, PAX is well underway in Seattle, and with it, an interview with Luke Smith. Now, it was called Story Time with Luke Smith, but mostly some guy just drilling him with odd humor. I don't really know the guy, maybe that was just his thing. Even though it was odd at times, there are still some snippets of news that we can cut out from it. And for those out there who love the Destiny lore, there's a pretty big announcement. So one thing Bungie did wrong in the original Destiny was to not put all of the story in the game and then supplement that with Grimoire cards. However, one of the things Bungie did right was to supplement the game with Grimoire cards, so it's kind of like their best/worst idea ever. It received so much criticism by not only its fan base, but by reviewers as well. Turn the clock forward 2 years, and as the storytelling started to improve dramatically, the Grimoire started to feel essential. I mean, we were just so used to it. For those who wanted to know more, there was tons of extremely well-written stories available for you to read. However, if you wanted the bare minimum, the DLC campaign would give you pretty much the gist. Only the real hardcore Destiny fans really cared about the Grimoire, but as its reputation started growing, Grimoire became a hugely followed avenue to tell in-game lore. Like I said, it was extremely well written. The Books of Sorrows, like the Taken King Grimoire, that was especially well put together, probably one of the best so far. Fast forward another year, and Bungie has decided to cut out the Grimoire cards and focus all of the time that it would take a small team to create Grimoire, and then use that extra time to put into the game. Well, this was praised and hated, as is every decision Bungie makes, but we now know that this isn't entirely true. I'll cut to the part of the stream where he talks about it in this interview, but long story short is that lore will still be in the game as cards. However, they will not be on some obscure website, but instead directly into the game the instant you see or read about a new name, a character, event, etc. Exotics as well as raid armor and weapons will have an exclusive lore tab. Upon looking at the upgrade path for the weapon or armor, all you have to do is hit left bumper or L2 and it will bring up a sort of Grimoire card explaining where this weapon comes from, how this armor piece was made, whose name it represents, the event going on, etc. It's a chance to learn more about the raid and the story in a lot more detail. For example, in the Kingsfall raid, the Warlock had armor on it with the name Ire, the Grasp of Ire, Harrow Grasp of Ire, etc. Now, there was even a chest in the Dreadnought named Ire. Ire was actually one of the Hive worm gods. You might have not known that, but now with these new tabs, you will instantly be able to tell where this stuff comes from and where its roots lie. First, they are keeping their word to have more lore in the game, but it's also a great balance between taking away the Grimoire that people loved and keeping that certain style of writing in the game. Now, if you were lucky enough to grab the Collector's Edition, there's a Cabal book inside there that is full of such writing and lore. Once again, some of the best Destiny has released. But before we move on, check out this clip where Luke Smith talks about these tabs in-game.
Because it's the best.
But
then
awesome.
I realized, basically what I realized is that I was actually wrong. That there was a lot of effective storytelling in the Grimoire cards. So if you're like a lore nerd like me, you know, and also somebody who tries to create things too, different mediums are just more effective at different types of communication. Yep. So if there isn't a Grimoire card, how does that like nerd, like now I'm in, like now I'm invested, but where does that lore nerd get hooked up with this shit now?
Well, we wanted to try something different and actually like take a bunch of the content and the time that we would spend on the Grimoire out of the game and do all of that work and put it in the game. So the way that it works in Destiny 2 is...
Now you got some woos.
There's the same 5 people who are buying it. So, thank you. So now the way that it works, like I'm going to... Let's look at, for instance, an exotic. And we'll talk about Cold Heart.
Yeah.
So when you get Cold Heart, which is the exotic you get for buying the game in the first week or whatever the details are, it's a sweet gun. On the weapon tab itself, when you're on the details screen, you can press the L2 button, and it'll slide out basically a story that is on the weapon. So it's like it's in the game, and it'll slide out the story, and it's gonna. Here's the thing. I'm not gonna like. And I worked super closely with the writers and the narrative team on this stuff, and so every single exotic in the game has a lore tab. Every single weapon, every single piece of armor in the raid and trials has lore associated with it. And so this was something that... This is something that we're passionate about too, and that's like one side of the coin. The other side of the Destiny 2 lore coin is in the stuff that you can scan and find in the world. So when you're running around the locations, like you're gonna find stuff like there's on one of the planets there, maybe you'll stumble into a cave and you'll scan some of the stuff in the cave and you'll find out that it's from the character who you've been working with on that particular planet, and it's their campsite from before this like thing happened to them. And so you're gonna get this in this other way, which is the like action game kinetic way through the elective environment scanning of the world. And then also, of course, on the items that you care about and love. And so, I think that we're going to surprise folks with how much stuff there is to read.
So, as you can see, there will be more than just Grimoire tabs, or lore tabs as it's called in-game. Scannable objects will be the other way to learn more about the history and lore within the game. Now, we've had these before, but they were never really implemented that well. So this is good news, guys. Not only will there be more lore within the game via the campaign story, it'll be told in between those missions with exotics, and even after the mission is over by scanning the world around us and with weapons/armor in the raid. So this is pretty freaking awesome. There's a huge lore community out there, and while it might be more accessible this time around, putting all of that stuff together in one video, I think it will still be a challenge. So that lets YouTube channels who built up a fan base full of lore enthusiasts to still be able to pull stuff together from the game and make it easier to follow. So I believe this is a win-win for everyone. Anyways, that's it, y'all. Just another snippet of news coming out of Destiny 2. As always, hope you guys enjoyed it, and thank you for stopping by. We are at 3 days and counting, guys, so keep that hype train alive, watch videos carefully, and forgot, before I go, GameStop is recalling their 9 p.m. pickup for physical copies of the game. It will not be available to pick up until 11 p.m., at least this is East Coast time. So I don't know if that means you'll be able to pick it up at 8 p.m. on the West Coast, assumingly so, an hour before launch seems like what's going on here, but just wanted to make sure that you all knew times have changed for GameStop, and I didn't want you going to GameStop and having to come back 2 hours later to grab the game. So if you pre-ordered a physical edition from GameStop, make sure you call them to check out the time, because more than likely it has changed, as have mine. Anyways, I'm out, y'all. Thank you for your time, and don't forget, you can check me out on Twitter or Facebook. Sly Nation Gaming. It's the best place to stay up to date on all Destiny 2 news, giveaways, and videos in general. Keep an eye out for more videos coming out here very soon, but until then, this is your boy Sly, and I'll catch you all next time.